This looks like a fantasy RPG, but it plays like someone took World of Warcraft, removed the subscription fee, the social obligations, the toxic players, and left behind the adventure. Welcome to Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, a game that somehow feels like a single-player MMO. Welcome back to the Asari Gamer, where we explore the art of video games one game at a time. As always, we'll look at this game through the lens of storytelling, world building, visual design, audio and atmosphere, and personal enjoyment. Kingdoms of Amalur looks like a pretty standard fantasy RPG. You're the Fateless One, a hero who has somehow escaped destiny itself. Ancient threats are rising, powerful factions are making moves, and once again it's up to you to save the world. You know, the usual storyline. But the story isn't why I kept playing. Like an MMO, the main questline mostly serves as a reason to keep moving forward. Every region has its own stories, side quests, and faction questlines. Before long, I found myself wandering off the main path because something else looked interesting, like the geese. Yes, geese. Even Gravehog Keep adds to this feeling. As you rebuild your fortress, new requests and side quests continue to appear, giving you a steady stream of things to do. It's definitely similar to the kind of ongoing content you'd find in an MMO. And that's really where Amalur shines. The story isn't pushing you toward the ending. It's encouraging you to go out and find your next adventure. While the main story is fairly straightforward, the world itself is surprisingly rich. Kingdoms of Amalur pulls heavily from real-world mythology, particularly Roman and Norse influences. The gods of Amalur feel familiar even when they're given new names, while creatures like the Jotun-inspired ogres and the colossal Colossae echo legends that have existed for centuries. The influence extends to the landscape itself. The plains of Erathell, with their rolling fields and towering cypress trees, immediately reminded me of the Italian countryside. Other regions draw from entirely different inspirations, giving each area its own identity and history. As a result, Amalur feels less like a collection of game zones and more like a world shaped by generations of cultures, myths, and beliefs. What really sets Kingdoms of Amalur apart is its art direction. Instead of chasing realism, the game embraces a colorful storybook fantasy style. Massive trees tower over the landscape, ancient ruins rise from the wilderness, and every region feels pulled from the pages of a fantasy illustration. That choice has helped the game age remarkably well. While the graphics may show their age in places, the art direction remains timeless. The world still feels vibrant, imaginative, and full of character years after its original release. And much like a great MMO, every region has a distinct visual identity. From the golden plains of Erathell to the ancient forests of Dalentarth, each area feels immediately recognizable and memorable. The result is a world that still feels inviting to step into, even all these years later. The soundtrack often felt familiar, like music I'd heard in other fantasy adventures before. Whether that's Grant Kirkhope's recognizable style or simply the game's classic fantasy influences, the result is a score that feels comfortable and inviting. What stood out more to me was the voice acting. Amalur features many of the same actors that RPG fans will recognize from games like Dragon Age and Skyrim.
The Krudok is sending the brownies of Rundamir out to collect corpses for it to feed on. That is the reason they've been ambushing wayfarers in the Shi. We must find it and destroy it.
Giving the world an immediate sense of familiarity. Combined with the colorful visuals and relaxed pace, the result is a world that's easy to settle into for hours at a time. Like a great MMO, Amalur isn't constantly trying to impress you. It's inviting you to stay a while. Kingdoms of Amalur is simply a fun adventure. Part of that comes from the flexibility of its destiny system. Rather than locking you into a single class, Amalur encourages experimentation. You can focus entirely on one playstyle or mix different skill trees together to create something uniquely your own. I've always gravitated toward ranged combat supported by fast dual blades, so I naturally leaned into the ranger and duelist paths. But that's the beauty of the system. Your choices genuinely shape how you experience combat, and finding a build that fits your playstyle is part of the fun. I found myself sitting down to play for an hour and staying much longer than I intended. The combat is satisfying, the world is enjoyable to spend time in, and there always seemed to be one more thing waiting around the corner. For that reason, Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning earns 4 out of 5 stars. It loses a star for storytelling, but makes up for it with a world that's consistently enjoyable to adventure through. And for the roughly $7 I paid, it's an easy recommendation. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning feels like stepping into a classic MMO world without the subscriptions, guild obligations, or toxic players. It's a fantasy adventure that lets you enjoy the best parts of an MMO entirely on your own, so go find a new adventure. If you enjoy thoughtful looks at the art and design of video games, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join me next time as we explore another world through the lens of art.